The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the kind of nervous energy you only get when someone has done something phenomenally stupid. Ambassador Vrel of the Carthax Empire stood at the center podium, all four of his eye stalks swiveling to address the assembled delegates. His exoskeleton clicked with agitation, a sound that echoed through the vast hall like a death rattle. "Let me get this straight," he said, his translator barely keeping up with his incredulous tone. "You actually tried to invade Earth?" Commander Thax of the Vortan Fleet, looking significantly less confident than he had 3 cycles ago, shifted his weight between his 6 legs. His scales had gone a sickly shade of gray, the Vortan equivalent of extreme embarrassment. We did not invade, exactly," Thax mumbled. "It was more of a reconnaissance in force." "A reconnaissance in force," Vrel repeated slowly, savoring each word like it was coated in poison. "With 17 battle cruisers." 16, Thax corrected weakly. "We lost 1 to complications." Senator Myrn, a floating jellyfish-like being from the Aqueous Collective, pulsed with bioluminescent laughter. Her tentacles writhed with barely contained amusement. "Complications," she echoed, her voice bubbling through her translation membrane. "Is that what we are calling it now? Please, Commander, do enlighten us about these complications." Thax looked like he wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. Unfortunately for him, the Council had disabled that particular feature after the incident with the Tellurian delegation last year. "The humans were uncooperative," he said finally. The collective groan rippled through the chamber. Even the plants from Sector 9 rustled their leaves in what could only be described as botanical disdain. Vrel leaned forward, all 4 eyes narrowing to pinpoints. "Uncooperative. The species that has no orbital defense platforms, no moon bases, no asteroid fortifications, no fleet protection. They were uncooperative." "Yes. How?" Thax pulled up a holographic display with one trembling claw. The image showed Earth, that ridiculous blue marble spinning peacefully in its unremarkable solar system. No defense grid, no weapon satellites, nothing but communications arrays and weather monitoring equipment. "It looked so easy," Thax whispered, and there was genuine pain in his voice. Every scan showed minimal defenses. Their military technology is centuries behind ours. They still use chemical propellants for their weapons, for the love of the cosmic void. "And yet here you are," Vrel said, gesturing at Thax's disheveled appearance, "looking like you went 3 rounds with a singularity. What happened?" The chamber fell silent. Every being leaned forward, sensors and eyes and various detection organs focused on the Vortan commander. Thax cleared his throat, which sounded like rocks grinding together. "We approached Earth in standard invasion formation. Sent the usual demands. Surrender, tribute, joining the Empire, all the standard protocols." "And their response?" Senator Myrn asked, her tentacles practically vibrating with anticipation. "They laughed," Thax said flatly. "Their representative, some female named Captain Rita Vasquez, actually laughed at us. For 3 full minutes. We timed it." A few delegates chuckled. Most remained silent, sensing there was more to this story. "Then what?" Vrel prompted. Then she said, and I quote, "Hold on, let me get some popcorn for this." We had no idea what popcorn was. Our xenolinguists are still arguing about the cultural significance. "Get to the point, Commander." Vrel snapped. Thax's scales rippled with what might have been fear, might have been respect, possibly both. "She told us that Earth does not need defenses because they have something better, something that has kept them safe for over 200 cycles." "Which is?" half the Council asked in unison. "A reputation." The word hung in the air like a bad smell. Delegate Cross from the Mechanoid Collective, a being of pure logic and circuits, spoke up for the first time. His voice was flat, emotionless, which somehow made his words more disturbing. "Elaborate, please." "Reputation is not a defensive capability." "That is what I thought," Thax said miserably. Captain Vasquez then proceeded to explain, in excruciating detail, why attacking Earth was inadvisable. She provided 17 historical examples, complete with casualty figures and economic impact assessments. "Examples of what?" Vrel demanded. Thax looked around the chamber, his eyes meeting those of dozens of species from across the galaxy. "Examples of what happens when you underestimate humans. Not when you attack them, when you simply underestimate them." Senator Mern's bioluminescence shifted to a concerned purple. I am not following. The Zephyron Collective underestimated human endurance during the marathon negotiations of Cycle 2847. They thought humans would break after 3 days without sleep. The humans negotiated for 17 days straight, subsisting on something called coffee and spite. The Zephyrons signed a treaty so favorable to Earth that their economy still has not recovered. A nervous murmur rippled through the assembly. The Kralix Empire underestimated human creativity. Thax continued, his voice gaining a hysterical edge. The Kralix thought they could trap human trading vessels in the nebula sector using standard interdiction patterns. Thax continued, his voice climbing higher with each word. The humans turned their cargo ships into improvised weapons platforms using mining equipment and agricultural fertilizer. They destroyed 4 Kralix destroyers with exploding vegetables before the Empire withdrew. Delegate cross-processed this information with a series of confused beeps. That is not possible. Agricultural compounds cannot generate sufficient explosive force to damage military-grade hull plating. Tell that to the Kralix. Thax shot back. Or better yet, do not tell them anything, because they refuse to discuss the incident. It has been classified as a cultural trauma event. Vrel felt a headache forming behind his primary eyes. He had ruled the Carthax Empire for 60 cycles and had never encountered anything quite like this. Commander, you are telling me that Earth remains undefended because every species that has considered attacking them has heard stories and decided against it? Not stories, Thax corrected, pulling up another holographic display. Documented incidents. Verified records. Treaty signed under duress. Warning beacons. There is an entire database maintained by the Galactic Commerce Guild titled Things Humans Have Done That Should Not Have Worked, but Somehow Did. How large is this database? Senator Mern asked, her curiosity overcoming her amusement. Last I checked, 47,000 entries. It grows by approximately 12 entries per cycle. The chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted questions, demanded proof, called for investigations. Vrel slammed his primary claw on the podium 3 times, creating thunderous bangs that eventually restored order. Enough, he roared. Commander Thax, continue your report. What happened after Captain Vasquez finished her presentation? Thax looked like he had aged 10 cycles in the past 3 days. She asked if we still wanted to proceed with the invasion. We consulted our strategic databases. Everything she said was verified. Every incident, every impossible victory, every time humans had been cornered and somehow emerged victorious through sheer audacity and ridiculous improvisation. So you withdrew? Delegate Cross asked. We tried to, Thax said miserably. But Captain Vasquez said we had already committed an act of aggression by entering their system with weapons charged. She said there would be consequences. The temperature in the council chamber seemed to drop several degrees. What kind of consequences? Vrel asked slowly. She gave us 2 options. Option 1, we could fight and see what happened. She was very clear that she could not guarantee our survival, but she did promise it would be educational. And option 2, we had to participate in what she called a cultural exchange program. Senator Mern pulsed with confusion. A cultural exchange? That does not sound so terrible. It was not terrible, Thax agreed. It was absolutely horrifying. They made us watch something called reality television. For 6 hours. Without breaks. It was a program about humans living on an island, competing for resources, forming alliances, and betraying each other for entertainment. I do not understand, Delegate Cross said. How is that a punishment? Thax's scales had gone completely white. Because it was real. Humans voluntarily subjected themselves to deprivation and social manipulation for the amusement of other humans. They called it Survivor. Our xenopsychology team had complete breakdowns trying to understand the appeal. 3 of them are still in therapy. This cannot be accurate, Vrel protested. No species would torture themselves for entertainment. That is what we thought, Thax said. Then Captain Vasquez showed us their historical archives. Humans have climbed mountains that kill them for fun. They have jumped out of perfectly functional aircraft with nothing but fabric to slow their fall, also for fun. They have invented hundreds of ways to injure themselves recreationally and call it sports. They have a holiday where they honor their dead by dressing as monsters and demanding candy from strangers. The council sat in stunned silence. And here is the thing that truly terrified us, Thax continued, his voice barely above a whisper. When we asked Captain Vasquez why humans do these things, why they constantly push themselves into danger and chaos voluntarily, she smiled. Actually smiled. And she said, because if we do not keep ourselves sharp, we might get soft. And soft species do not survive. Vrel felt something cold settle in his chest. You are saying that everything humans do, all their bizarre behavior, is training? Not training, Thax corrected. Practice. They practice surviving impossible situations constantly, so when real danger arrives, they are ready. Earth does not need orbital defenses because every human is already a defense system. They have been preparing for threats their entire evolutionary history. They are not peaceful. They are just waiting. Senator Myrn had gone completely dark, her bioluminescence extinguished in shock. What did you do, Commander? We signed a non-aggression treaty, backdated to before we entered their system. We agreed to establish trade relations. And we left as quickly as our engines could carry us. And your missing cruiser? Vrel asked. Requested asylum on Earth, Thax said. The crew said they would rather take their chances with the humans than return home and explain what happened. Last I heard, they were opening a restaurant in some place called Nevada. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment. Finally, Delegate Cross spoke, his mechanical voice somehow conveying resignation. I am updating the Galactic Defense Database. Earth classification, do not engage. Threat level, unknown. Recommended action, leave them alone. Seconded, said every other delegate simultaneously. Vrel looked at the holographic image of Earth, spinning peacefully in space, completely undefended and utterly untouchable. Somewhere down there, Captain Rita Vasquez was probably laughing. And somewhere in the database, entry number 47,001 was being written. Meeting adjourned, Vrel said wearily. And someone send a memo to all member species. Earth is off limits. What should the memo say? An aide asked. Vrel thought for a moment, then smiled grimly. Tell them the humans are cooking something. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.